Hey everybody, I want to introduce you to our latest sponsor, Salt Electrolytes. Feeling depleted after a tough grappling session? Well, Salt targets your depleted electrolyte levels with a boost of hydration and health. It gives your body the baseline recovery it needs. Salt contains 6 different electrolytes with a touch of iodine to help maintain a healthy thyroid. No sugar, no dyes, no bullshit. Go earn your salt. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BJJ Foxcast. I am your host, Alex Martinez, and I am so happy that I don't have my co-host, Tojo, today. He was supposed to be here, but he's not. But anyway, I'm here. I'm here with my friend, Brad Jacobson. He is a black belt under Jay Pages, an Army veteran, and also runs, do you do media for the World League?
No, I do promotions.
Promotions,
yeah.
Okay, promotions. So are you like, is it okay to talk about World League?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, because I won't talk about the other promotion. They don't allow their people to go on podcasts and talk about their promotion.
Oh, no, I'm sure, because I'm a liaison, so I'm a diplomat for Jiu-Jitsu World League, so if anything, they would want me to talk about like our programs and how we work and stuff like that. Yeah,
no, so right now, you know, Jiu-Jitsu tournaments in Arizona have become extremely competitive. I mean, there's just so many now. Oh yeah. I remember there was like 4. You know what I mean? If you want to compete more, you got to go to California, got to go to Nevada, wherever you, Texas, wherever you can. And then there was one year where AGF came to town, and then World League came to town. And we were like, oh, shit.
It was like one day, and then the next day. Yeah. And then we're like, holy shit, this is really cool. Like, we enjoyed it. And then we actually went to a World League in LA right after that. We're like, we're gonna kind of support this. Yeah. And it was a blast, dude. Like, I think they've changed the rules now, but before it was like, you know, any color gi, you know, we can wear rash guards and whatever. I mean, I do more traditional stuff anyway, so I don't really know like what I can't wear because I don't know. I play it safe. But tell me about that. Like, what is it about World League that makes you guys so unique in that way? I mean, if you're talking about the uniform policy or like the rule set, I know like they're a little more relaxed with the uniform policy. Obviously, like you're gonna want to like check the gi to make sure it's the right length and stuff like that. But I think traditionally, like the difference between Jiu-Jitsu World League and other tournaments is that we are 100% transparent and open to feedback. Because I know as an organization, our goal is to like make the best event for not only the coaches but also the people competing. We also want to make the best event for like the spectators. Yeah. You know, and so like any feedback on the experience that we get from those people, we're going to incorporate that into the next event. Yeah, that's so obvious just by the way you guys treat coaches, the way you guys treat competitors. You know, I've always talked about this when we were just talking about doing triathlon downstairs. And I remember like you do like some of the local, you know, Tempe, you know, park, whatever it is, Tempe Town Lake. You know, they're cool. You know, they're nice and they run a good show. They got a great, you know, little trail to run and cycle. But like when you get to the bigger tournaments, I mean, not tournaments, but the bigger races, like the athlete is a rock star. Yeah. It's and I mean, we're all like, there might be like 10 real athletes in the whole whole field, right? But everybody's treated like a rock star. Like they rack your bike, they take care of your halfway bag. You don't have to worry about anything. All you got to do is run your race. And I think of all the tournaments that I've done, and I've done a lot of tournaments, World League comes closest to making the athlete feel like a rock star. Cool. No, I love to hear that. Yeah. And and then we love to get the feedback too. Like, I know like with some of our tournaments, especially in like Mullet Arena is like an awesome location. Dude, I can't think of a better place to go watch jiu-jitsu than Mullet Arena because one of the obstacles you have when you're watching a jiu-jitsu tournament as a spectator is a lot of times like the mats are on the same level as the spectators. Yeah. And so you're constant. I mean, I feel so bad for the grandmas, you know, like because you know, a lot like let's be honest, like most of the revenue stream is going to come from the younger competitors, like the juveniles coming up, the kids and stuff.
Yeah, they bring 10 people with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we technically get more revenue from the spectators that are coming to watch their kids and their grandkids than we do from the actual registration fees. Wow. And so it's like we want to make it the best. We want to make it accessible for those people so they come back and they want to come back, right? Yeah. And so Mullet's just a great arena because not only do you get like
you get the elevation and like in the spectator, so it's at a stadium, and so you can see the mats. But we also lay out the mats in such a way where the scoreboard and the scorekeepers are on the inside.
Yes, yeah.
And then in the stands, I mean, you're like right there in front of the mat, and there's nobody in front of you.
It's great.
So you can move around and you can see. So that was one thing that keeps us there, is we're like, we get the constant feedback that it's a really good place to spectate.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we're working with is like, the lobby situation is really tough. Like at 9, 10 a.m., it's so crowded. You got coaches trying to check in. And so one of the things that we're going to do for the next ones is we're going to move the podium away from the lobby and upstairs. Good. You know what I'm saying? So, but I get that, I get that feedback from the coaches. So after the events, I always go out to the coaches and I'm like, hey, like what did you see that we can do better? Yeah. Right. That's what we want to hear. Yeah. And they say, okay, hey, the music was a little loud. I had a hard time coaching my guys. I'm like, got it. We'll make that adjustment.
I throw my earbuds in. I do. I throw them in. Yeah, because it is kind of loud. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're going to fix that next event. Like, I'm in charge of the music next event. So I'm going to make sure. I'm going to be like, okay, we want the department store level music, right? Where it's like, you can have the conversation, but you still kind of hear it and you can enjoy it, but it's not overriding the coach yelling at their, well, not yelling, but, like coaching their athlete.
Yeah. They don't listen anyway. I don't know what coaches are complaining about.
I think, honestly, so my kid does jiu-jitsu. He's 8 years old. He's like a 4-stripe white belt as a kid. But he's like, he got into it because I think this is true for anybody. Anytime you go and you start something as a brand new student and immediately you're better than kids or people that have been doing it gives you some sort of like, I don't want to say like validation, like, hey, this is what I should be doing, right? And it bites you. Like, I mean, it happened to me as a white belt. I started with, and I remember I listened to one of your podcasts and you said you had started at Rough House Jiu-Jitsu. And so I started at Rough House.
No way.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Wow.
So my buddy, his name's Neil Gillingham. His wife was like the principal at the school my wife was an assistant principal at, but like we knew their family. We've been friends with them for a long time. And he just brought it up once. He was like, hey, I do jiu-jitsu. I think he was a blue belt. He's like, I do jiu-jitsu. It's really fun. And I'm like, I remember that from the military. Yeah. I remember like doing combatives training. Yeah. And this is really funny. So I was an Army Ranger and we were stationed up in Fort Lewis, Washington. And up in Tacoma, there's a guy named Marcelo Alonso. Yeah. A lot of people know him, right? Yeah. He's a superstar, but in like small circles. Right. And so we would send a couple of guys to go train with him for like 2 weeks. Like Rangers would go up and train with him. And then they would come back and they would teach us what they learned. So could you imagine, being part of like a combatives course and like you're being taught by like a 1-stripe white belt, like how to do a cross collar choke with somebody in a BDU jacket? I mean,
my God, that's wild.
So it was chaos, of course. And we're all like, 20-something alphas that are just like, hang on 1 second. Yeah. No, keep going. So we're all like 20-something-year-old alphas that are all like trying to just destroy each other based on some technique that we learned from a 1-stripe white belt.
Oh my God, that's freaking hilarious, man.
So, but it was a lot of fun, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, like, even though we don't know what we're doing, we're still like learning ecologically, right? Like, we're like, okay, like if I put my hand here, I'm not going to get choked. Right. So you pick things up, but then like after I got out of the military, it never really occurred to me that there was a whole world of jiu-jitsu that I could get into.
Wow. Yeah.
So Neil, so this is like, I mean, I've had kids by now. I've gotten married. I've gotten out of college. Like, I'm looking for that next thing. I was teaching yoga at the time. And so a really interesting story. Like I had actually had like a severe back injury in the military, got out and I needed surgery right about the same time I got out as an undergrad at ASU. So I used the GI Bill and all the fancy stuff the military gives you. And and I got out as an undergrad and I started my grad program. And then I was like heavily involved with yoga at that time because God, I feel like there's so many tangents I could go on.
No, keep going. Yeah,
so in the same class that I met my wife at as an undergrad at ASU in the biology program, I met another guy named Steven Soar, and I'm still really good friends with him. Now, Steven and my wife, I met him in this class, and put a pause on Steven. So I met my wife there. We graduated as undergrads. We started dating. I'm in my grad program, and Steven was like, he was very enthusiastic about yoga. And at the time, I was like hurting from the military. I was like kind of beat up. Everything hurt. And he was like, hey, you should come to a yoga class. And I was like, okay. I'll come to your yoga class. And I remember, and this is at the same time, like to be fully transparent, like when I got out of the military, I had a lot of unaddressed trauma from watching friends die, being in combat situations. And you do not, it's so hard to be self-reflective to the point where you're like, yeah, I've got trauma. I should probably deal with that. You're just like, man, whatever I can find that's going to dull like the emotions that I'm feeling right now. And so when I got out, I got heavily involved with opiate use.
Really?
Yes. I was.
Did that start as were you injured and it was introduced to you by the VA or something like that, or was it just?
I think that's a common story for sure, and I think a lot of people follow that path. For me, this is really interesting. We were deployed in Afghanistan. And we were in Bagram Airfield, and I had a buddy that I was enlisted with, and he comes running in my tent one night, and he's like, Brad, he's like, come here, and I'm like, what? And he's like, I was just in the medical tent, and guess what I found? I'm like, what? And he's like, they have Tramadol. I'm like, I don't know what that means. And he's like, no, dude. He's like, so we did this whole thing, and this is horrible. I'm going to go to jail for this. But we did this whole thing where like he distracted the medical guy that was in the tent, and like I went behind and grabbed or I distracted him, and he went behind and grabbed the Tramadol bottles. So we grabbed like 2 bottles of Tramadol, and I remember I popped a couple, and I was just like, everything went away. I was like, all the stress of like being in a combat zone, I was like, wow. Oh, this is cool. I feel like I could talk to anybody. I feel like I could talk to a general walking down. Like I had this like high.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that it was an opiate or that it was addictive.
Whoa.
So I had a bottle, he had a bottle, and we went through that whole deployment. And I remember like we'd go out on missions. This is horrible, but we'd go out on missions. I'd pop a couple and I'd be like, I don't care if we get shot at. Like,
oh shit! Oh my god! Wow!
But I had no. I was like, man, I'm all itchy. I don't know why I'm itchy. And like, and then it was like I ran out or something at the end of the deployment. And I remember laying in my bunk that night, and I couldn't sleep. And I was like, why can't I sleep? I'm all like restless, and I'm like, what is this? And it just like flashed in my head, and I was like, I'm addicted. Like I'm having withdrawal. Like, whoa! It became apparent to me in that moment that I was like, I'm having withdrawals. Never touched opiates after that until way after I'd gotten out. I'd gotten out of the military. I think we had gone down to Mexico when I was a biology student. We did like this trip down to Mexico to like look at the marina or something. And we'd gone walking, we'd gone shopping down in Mexico, and what's available in Mexico.
Everything.
Yeah. And I saw Tramadol on the counter. I was like, I want that. Because I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, that stuff made me feel good. I'd forgotten about the addictive qualities.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what got me back into the snowball effect of it.
Wow.
And so I was using it as sort of like people come home from work and they have like a glass of wine or something. Mm-hmm. I was using Tramadol in the same way. Is I was like, oh, this is my like, I got done with the work day. But then it like, the time that I was doing it backed up from like 4 p.m. to 1 p.m. to 10 a.m. to, and then it was just like a snowball cycle. Well, fast forward, right? And I'd gotten out of grad school and I was like, this is not for me. So I had actually quit the opiate thing. And that's when Steven introduced me to yoga. And so I go to this yoga class and I get out and I'm like, I feel like I just did like an opiate. I feel like I feel that natural high, but without the downside. Like there was no come down. It was just like, I feel good. And I was like, wait a second, I got to check this out.
Was it like Bikram yoga or was it like just regular? Like...
It was a worm yoga class. Okay. I mean, it was challenging.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Like he made us sweat.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just like the effects of that class were like so pronounced that I had to go back and do more.
Yeah. Are you comfortable talking about the time in the Army, your time as a Ranger?
Absolutely.
Now, how many combat deployments did you do?
5.
Wow. Were they all in Afghanistan?
Yeah, all of mine were, and
that's kind of rare, no?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The reason why it's rare is because Iraq war kicked off in 2003, right?
Yeah.
So we had just deployed to Afghanistan in January of 2003, and there's 3 Ranger battalions. We were in 2nd Ranger Battalion. Our relief was 1st and 3rd Battalion, one of the two. And so we were waiting to get relieved by one of those guys. And I remember in March of 2003, maybe everybody remembers this, right? You got George W. on TV, like, they got weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
We need to take,
Colin Powell, those guys.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it's like, at the time, I was so young. I was like 19 or 20. And so like, I didn't see through the BS.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we're against Iraq now for some reason.
Yeah.
That never clicked in my head. Now, Pat Tillman, on the other hand, he had already gone to college, been educated. And so once we invaded Iraq and he realized there was no weapons of mass destruction, he was very outspoken against the war because he was like, this is illegal. Why are we invading? Like, it wasn't here. Like, why are we still here?
Did you know him?
Yeah, he was in my battalion.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so he was an Alpha platoon. I was an Alpha squad for mortar team. So I was an 11 Charlie. And so we would always get attached to like their platoon.
Yeah.
And so we would travel around with them everywhere. So I wasn't in his platoon, but we deployed
you were
with
attached.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was in the ambush where he died. Like, yeah, I know it's crazy.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. I know that's like a truth bomb just to drop right here, but
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was in the second serial in that deployment. So, I mean, there you go. So here I am in Arizona now, and it's like everywhere I go, there's Pat Tillman shirts, Pat Tillman signs, Pat Tillman statues. And I mean, like as a role model, I think like he's definitely like in my top 3 of like life heroes, right?
Yeah.
Because anybody that makes a choice like him, where he says, you know what, I'm a patriot, my family's been involved in the military, what have I done? I'm just a star, safety for the Arizona Cardinals. That's nothing. It's like, what is that? I've done nothing.
Yeah.
And then to give up like a $3.6 million contract to come like suck in the mud with us, because of his patriotism, like that to me is heroic.
Yeah.
Right. Period. Like,
yeah. He was going to go to the Rams or something like that. Like the Rams had offered him a big deal too.
Oh, bigger than that. Yeah. I think he had turned down their offer
to stay. Yeah. That makes sense. For that guy, it makes total sense.
Right. Yeah. He wasn't about the money. He was about like like if this guy stuck his neck out for me, I'm going to be loyal to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, he wasn't driven by money at all. He was driven by ideology, I guess you could say, right? But like a healthy one. Yeah.
And I remember I read, I want to say I read his book. I just don't remember. There was a book that I read where they talked about like he would, he was very outspoken with, about the Iraq War, and he was also very outspoken about his wishes if the worst were to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they honored his wishes.
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about having like a seed for distrust in like the government, that was my seed, right? It was watered by everything that came after that. But how I saw, and I'm young. I mean, I'm like 20, 21, 22 when that happened. To be that young, you don't realize the implications until years later, and you can reflect on it.
Yeah.
And so like just to see how they twisted what happened into making it their own little PR promo for the Army was just like sickening almost, It's disgusting, honestly.
What did it do to you guys as a platoon? Not just when it happened, but the aftermath, like all of the political bullshit that happened where they were just, I hate to say it, they were using his name, like you said, as a PR move, which is pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
What did that do to you guys as a unit, as like the Rangers themselves? What did that do? I mean, how did that make you guys feel?
I mean, that's a great question. I'm not sure that. So you have to understand, like when I got out, because that was 2004, right? Yeah. So right after that happened in 2004, we got back, and I think it was like he died April 22nd, 2004, right? Yeah. We got back in May, and right after that, I declared like I want to do Best Ranger, and so I pulled back.
Gotcha. So Best Ranger being like, it's like a competition. I think. Yeah.
It's like a triathlon for Rangers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a 3-day event. So that was my way of coping, was like, I don't want to do anything else with you guys because of like the way everything went down.
Wow.
So I didn't really get a good pulse on like how everyone felt about it. Like,
you detached right away.
Oh yeah. I was just like, this is just dumb. I don't even want to be around you people.
Yeah.
Like at that point, that was when I wanted to get out. But I still had a year left. And I'm like, well, what can I do to like make this year go by faster? Yeah. So I walked in my platoon sergeant's office and I'm like, hey, I want to do Best Ranger. And he was like, really? Cool. He's like, you're on your own PT schedule. I was like, great.
No way.
Yeah. So basically like the last, I want to say like 8-9 months of my time in battalion was training for Best Ranger, competing in Best Ranger, coming back, ETSing, and getting out.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I did a good solid 3.5 years, but then it was like that last, 6 months to like a year was like just training.
Yeah. And I don't, I want to stay on the subject a little bit longer because I thought we were going to talk about jiu-jitsu, and this is like, I don't know where to go from here. But I don't want to just, I feel like we're kind of glazing over it. What kind of guy was he? What kind of guy was Pat? Like, I mean, so he seems like, a very down to earth, like cool guy, but I mean, was he like the hardest worker in the platoon? Was he like, I don't know. Was he just a natural leader? What kind of guy was he?
Yeah, he's elite. He's just 100% elite.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get that from like, I mean, the book you're referring to may be like Where Men Win Glory by Krakauer.
I read it almost 20 years ago, man.
Yeah. So Krakauer, he reached out to me in 2006 or 7, right? I didn't know who he was at the time, and he was like, hey, I'm writing a book about this situation. Would you mind being interviewed? And so he interviewed me for that section of the book, like on what happened during that deployment. The reason why he used so much of my testimony in the book was because I had actually, for whatever reason, God, you know how this shit works, is it's like, God works in mysterious ways, right?
Yeah.
So at the beginning of that deployment, I was like, I think I'm going to write in a journal to, like for this deployment.
Yeah.
So I hand wrote a journal for that whole deployment, everything.
Whoa.
And whenever you write something down, you remember it,
of
right?
course,
so I wrote down everything that happened. I got back to the rear and I typed the whole thing up and I put it on a computer, a hard drive at the Ranger Battalion. So I had done it twice. I had transcribed it twice. So that made
embedded.
It was embedded at that point. I don't know if it's conspiracy or not, but my journal disappeared and they scrubbed the hard drive on the computers. That's how it goes.
That's not a coincidence.
No, for sure. No, like my green journal is gone. It was in my locker and it's gone.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, it was still in my head. And so I was able to convey like a lot of like the details around what happened on that deployment. And he was able to use them in the book. So if you go to the back of the book and you look at like the like his credits that he gives, you'll see like my name at the top of the list for chapters like 26 through 30. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that book, in my opinion, and maybe I'm biased because I'm a big part of it. Like in my opinion, that told the best and most complete and comprehensive version of what took place on that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think, well, I mean, you touched on it on the opiate use, watching friends die, stuff like that. And was that like your only coping mechanism? Were you drinking heavily? Were you doing anything, destructive, or was it just the Tramadol?
That's a great question, because everybody has like their vice, right? That became my vice. I wasn't a heavy drinker. I would drink, but it was never my vice. Gotcha. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also because like I was incredibly dedicated to physical fitness. And so like you can't go like drink a fifth of vodka and work out, but you can take some opiates and go crush yourself at the gym.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would pop the opiates and I would go for like a 10-mile run. You know what I'm saying?
No shit.
Yeah. And I wouldn't feel my knees till the next day. But like that was my coping mechanism. So I had this weird way of justifying what I was doing.
Yeah.
Is because I was an undergrad at ASU and I was in a tough biology program, my metric for whether or not it was out of control was my grades.
Yeah.
I graduated with a 4.08 as an undergrad.
Wow.
Justifying, right, my use. I was like, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then there was one time I didn't just do Tramadol. To be fully transparent, it moved into harder stuff.
Yeah.
But there was a point, I think it was like Thanksgiving of like 2008. I was at a soccer field and I just freebased some heroin, to be fully transparent.
What does that mean? What's freebasing?
It's where you take, like, heroin comes in like little black globby stuff and you put it on like a piece of tin foil and you light underneath it. You've probably seen people on
with
the
a
street.
straw. You did
Yeah. And so I had just done that and I was like really high and I was like backing out of my parking spot and the guy next to me had his door open and I just backed right, like his door was open into my truck and I just like completely decimated the side of my truck. And it was at that point where I was like, maybe I'm too far. I should back off. So it was at that point was where I made the conscious decision, like, I need to get this shit out of my life. So I quit like pretty much cold turkey.
You kicked it twice on your own?
Oh, I've kicked it more than twice.
Shit.
And we'll get into that. So I got over it then, and I met my wife literally like a few months later, like in a biology class with Stephen Soar.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so that's why I was like, Stephen said, come do yoga, and then yoga became my new vice.
Yeah.
But that's not really a bad vice to have.
It's great. Yeah.
So that became my new thing, and I was just like obsessed with it. I was learning everything about it. I went to yoga teacher training. I became a yoga teacher. I taught other people yoga. I taught the vets yoga. I'd volunteered down at the VA. So I went through this whole process of like yoga is it. Then Neil Gillingham walks in and says, hey, I'm doing jiu-jitsu. It's kind of fun, and you should try it. And I was like, yes, I'd love to. Now, here's the funny part. He didn't introduce it to me until it was after my second back surgery. So I had a back surgery in 2011, Okay. So I had a back surgery in 2011. It was a slip disc. So I went through yoga. Everything was beautiful. I was getting really flexible. And then all of a sudden I started getting this weird like sciatic pain. So I go to get an MRI and then the doctor's like, bro, you've got like an 8 millimeter bulge in your L5-S1. That's like pinching your nerve.
You're like, is that bad?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He's like, we should probably remove it. Because I was like hunched over. I couldn't stand up straight. Anytime I extended, it was like a shock went down my spine or down my leg.
Yeah.
And so I got surgery and like, and like what's really interesting about that is like, because I was involved with yoga and I realized what was happening. I was like, oh man, I got this MRI. I got this herniated disc. I started hanging upside down. I did everything I possibly could to remediate the injury.
Yeah.
Nothing worked.
Oh man.
Nothing. And I was and because I was so convinced that I could fix it with yoga, it took me extra time to get like into the surgeon to see, and then I had to go through the series of injections. You know how insurance companies are. They demand that you do like 3 rounds of injections. Right. And if it doesn't do it, then we'll cut you open. And it's like, okay, like if you just look at the MRI, you would see like you just need to get that shit out.
Was the original injury caused by the military service? Or okay.
Yeah, so I got injured. We were doing like a PT football game or something, and you know how we are when we're like 20, we're just smashing. Yeah. Like it was basically full contact football without pads. so I got like high load and my back tweaked, and I like couldn't do a sit up for like 3 months.
Wow.
You know, it was bad. So that's the initial state of the injury. But then like I kind of worked it out. I did Best Ranger and stuff, but I always had back issues. And when I got out of the military, like in my exit interview, like with the medical staff, I was like, hey, listen, I was like, I had this back injury. I'm not sure if it's in my records, but I need to declare it now before I get out.
Yeah.
I had no idea that there were such things as disability or anything like that.
Yeah.
But again, God works in mysterious ways. And it was just like in my head, I was like, I need to claim this here before I get out. And I did. And then when I got out and everything got bad, I submitted a packet for disability with, the back injury. Yeah. They denied it at first, but then they were able to go back through when I appealed and see that they were like, he did say he had back problems before he got out, and they were able to prove it. So,
great.
Yeah, crazy, right?
So did you get like a high percentage of disability, or?
It started at like, I don't remember, maybe like 20 or 30, and then
that's
moved
standard.
Up to 40.
That's like their hey, would you take this?
Yeah.
No. Shit. All right, we'll check you out.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I mean. I guess like, so I had that injury and I had the surgery, I recovered from it. And then like in 2016, I had a similar injury, and this is like, it was like on the other side. So I had the right leg injury and then I had the left leg sciatica.
Yeah.
And then I went in and got the MRI, and they were like, hey, you got a hernia on this side. Well, the reason why is because as a ranger, you strap on like massive amounts of weight.
Yeah.
And then you just like, I'm going to go for a 25-mile run as fast as I can. You're like, thump, 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 thump. And you like, you don't think about that being bad for your lower back, but like.
It's really bad for
it's
your lower
horrible. You know?
And you know, what people fail to understand is like, you guys as rangers, like you're jumping off of things and you're blowing things up and you're carrying heavy weights. You're like micro concussing yourself like on a daily.
Oh yeah. Like jumping out of planes with heavy shit.
Yeah. With heavy shit. That does anyway, but there's gotta be a better way, man.
Yeah. No kidding. Well, maybe once we get these AI robots going, we just let them do all that.
Yeah. No shit, man.
Until they start having disability claims, then they're going to have a problem.
We'll just shut those things off.
Right?
Fuck them. Just shut them off. Yeah. But so okay. So you had the back issues. You hadn't started jiu-jitsu then?
So this is really funny. So I had just gotten surgery in April for the second injury, right? Yeah. This is 2016. Neil and Julia come over for dinner one night, and this is like maybe in June. And he's like, "Oh, I like jiu-jitsu." And my wife's like, "No." she's like, "You're not even like 3 weeks out of surgery, you know?" And she was like, "Give it like a couple months."
Sure.
And so I started in August, and my 8-year-old son now, he was born in September.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I started in August, and then he was born. So he's like my jiu-jitsu baby. He's like my metric. Yeah. How long have I been doing jiu-jitsu? Well, how old's Avery? You know?
Yeah, because I forget too. I forget, like, I can't remember like the exact day. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about it in those terms. Like, I was throwing up in a trash can. Do you think I thought I was going to get a black belt one day? You know what I mean? Right. Absolutely not. Yes. So, yeah.
So he was training at Rough House with Arthur Ruff.
Yeah.
And I know, like, it's funny too, because so many jiu-jitsu owners and coaches and stuff have all gone through Rough House. At some point, they've all flown through that. Like,
that was the spot, man. Yeah.
And so it's interesting. So I was training there maybe a month or two before he left. And I rolled with him once, and I was like a, no stripe white belt, like, aggro, like white belt. And I remember I grabbed his collar, like, because what do you do when you're in guard? And and he just like slowly, like straight arm locked me, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And I just remember thinking, like, holy shit, like he didn't try, like he just like literally just like in slow motion arm locked me, and I'm like, okay, this is different, like, it's like, it's crazy to be manhandled. I mean, Arthur was huge anyway, so to be manhandled and then like just to be shown that like I can break you at
anytime he wants. I actually fought his instructor. I fought Rodrigo Medeiros in Master Worlds 2 years ago.
No way.
Yeah, so we're checking in, and I see Arthur, and I always go say hello. He has no idea who I am, but I always say hello to him because I was like, and I tell him, like, I had my very first class in your school, and he's like, oh, and he's like, what belt are you? I was like, I'm a black belt. And then I lost to Rodrigo, and Arthur was coaching, so I got to shake his hand there. He's always been super nice to me, you know what I mean? So I really appreciate him for that. But yeah, one of
the things that I strive to in my life is I never judge the content of someone's character based on someone else's interaction with
100%,
them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So somebody had a bad experience with Arthur. I'm like, cool, that's on you. Like, that's between you guys.
Yeah.
But every time I've interacted with him, he's always been cordial and nice.
So nice. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and it's that same way. I extend that to everybody that I meet.
Yeah.
Is like, I don't care what anyone says bad about somebody else until they've wronged me.
Yeah.
I just can't. Like, I can't get on board with the hate.
Right.
Thing,
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't make any sense. And I'll hear you out, but I mean, unless they do something to me, like, if, dude, honestly, like, if all you got to do is be nice to me, and I'm like a Labrador, like, I'm, you know what I mean? I'm like, we're good. We're totally good. Yeah. So, well, Jay has been one of those guys that's always been freaking cool to me. So cool. And I don't think he gets enough love for what he's done for jiu-jitsu in Arizona. I mean, you got Megaton, you got Gustavo, you got Arthur, all the guys, all the OGs. He's one of them. He's right up there. He's done a lot for jiu-jitsu in Arizona. He's a great guy.
Yeah. The thing about Jay, and I mean, like, so let me tell you a story how I got to Jay's, because I started at Arthur's, right? So I was at Arthur's, and then he switched out, and he sold the business to Adam. I forget Adam's last name.
I don't remember,
But yeah, he was a brown belt at the time, and him and Marco were kind of teaching the classes and stuff. And then not too long after that, Gerson came and took over, right?
Yep.
And so Gerson brought a whole tribe with him, right?
Like he does.
Yeah, exactly, right? I love Gerson. Like, I've always loved him. And so I was training under Gerson for maybe like 6-8 months, and then I think he had just given me my blue belt. And I remember they said, hey, come to this, I want to say it was like a seminar or something, right? So I show up to the seminar, and there's a bunch of guys there from Lotus Club. And I'm like, why is Lotus Club here? And then all the Lotus Club guys are like, hey, I guess we're teammates now. I'm like, are we? Like, what? Like, I had no idea what was going on.
Wow,
and I guess Gerson had joined up with Lotus Club during that time. But during that time that I was with Gerson, I had gone to Jay's because he offers like his schedule. He had more classes, available.
Sure, yeah.
So I'd asked Jay, because at the time, like with Arthur, Jay was kind of like associated, and he was like, hey, anytime you want to come train over here, come train. So I was kind of like, I would go to Jay's once a week, and Gerson's like twice or 3 times a week, right?
Yeah.
And then once he joined Lotus Club, I was like, well, fuck, I can't go. Like in my head, I was like, well, now they're not affiliated, and I'm like,
felt weird.
It felt weird, and I was like,
yeah.
So I went and talked to Jay. I talked to Gerson, and I was like, well. And then I talked to my buddy who was completely independent. He was from Minnesota. He was the guy I was in the Army with.
Yeah.
Right. And I told him, and you know what he asked me? He said, well, what's gonna do the most for your jiu-jitsu? That was a really good question.
That's a great question. Yeah.
Right. And it gives me goosebumps thinking about it, because that was like, okay, it's not about personal vendettas or anything like that. It was like, I'm going to get more if I go train with Jay.
Yeah.
He has just more classes to offer. I was a stay-at-home dad. I needed to get in the morning, and I was just like,
fair. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go train with Jay. So it was nothing against Gerson. It was just that I wanted to be able to train more often, and that's where my jiu-jitsu would grow more.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's why I ended up with Jay. And I went over there as a blue belt, and within a year he gave me my purple belt, because I mean, I guess I was just wrecking people at that point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I think you and I rolled when you were a purple belt.
We rolled when I was a white belt. You were a brown belt.
What? Really?
Yeah,
white belt? I remember that. Yes, I do remember. You had a green gi on.
Yeah.
And you had a little ranger thing on the back of it, I think. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah. So you were a handful then.
Yeah, I was. Well, okay, so I wrestled in high school, so I had a little bit of that, and then the yoga, I mean, I can't preach this enough. I mean, if anybody's watching this, yoga is your, like, it's going to make you better.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
So being like an accomplished yogi and then also having the wrestling experience was like, I mean, it was a tremendous boost when I first got started because I already had the body awareness and then I already had the center of gravity awareness, like with the wrestling and stuff.
And yoga hips are super strong.
Oh yeah. Ridiculous. Yeah. And the mobility, right? Cause I mean, let's be honest. Like I know we age as we do jiu-jitsu, right? But the mobility is really like, I mean, that's your advantage.
Yeah.
Like if you're immobile, like, or less mobile than the guy you're rolling with.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if your technique's better than him. He's still going to be harder.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It is. Absolutely.
You know, you're trying to pass his guard and you're like, why is his leg here?
Yeah. How did he put his foot back there?
Yes. Yeah. So that was the advantage I had. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of how I got into jiu-jitsu, was through that pathway. And then with Jay, I just like trained my ass off. And with him, like I was going, so I was a stay-at-home dad during this time period. And, you know, like I said, Avery was born. And so I was taking care of Avery. Ryder was in school. He's my older son. He's 10 now. And so like I would have Avery all day long, and Jay had this 10:30 class that he was teaching. And every day, it was almost every day I was in there at the 10:30 class.
Perfect. Yeah.
And the one thing about Jay that is just amazing is that like you can ask him any question about jiu-jitsu and he has a legitimate like chess master answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like his knowledge of like jiu-jitsu is just insane. Like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. He's always been, like I said, he's always been really cool. I remember going to like it was like a multiple black belt seminar when I first started. I was a white belt and Jay was one of the teachers, and he's teaching this choke. And I remember he and I rolled at that seminar, and I'm like, am I passing his guard? Was
it like a baseball choke?
Yeah, it was really something wild, man. And I'm sitting there like, am I passing his guard? And then it just sunk in. I was like, oh, nope, that's not happening. So that was pretty fun. Yeah. So tell me about getting your black belt, man. What did that feel like?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, God, it's really just it's so cliche to say, like it's a journey.
Yeah.
I know so let me back up. So Jay gave me my purple belt, and I was a purple belt for 2 years under him. He kept me there as like, I needed to be like a really good brown belt before he would promote me, because I was a competitor.
Yeah.
And so like he kept me there for a long time, and I kept driving. Finally he gave me my brown belt. And then like, it was like a year into my brown belt, I had to pull back a little bit just because of the family situation. I was still training, like, you know, a couple days a week, but I didn't think that I was like, I didn't think I was deserving of the black belt yet, because I didn't maintain that same like pressure.
Yeah.
But then when I told Lisa, because Lisa was like, how does it feel? I was like, I don't know if I deserve this. And she's like, you deserve it. And I was like, it felt so good when she said that. I was like, okay. She's like, you're a black belt. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. Like,
that's cool, man. Yeah. Do you teach at all? Do you teach any classes for Jay?
Not on a schedule, but I'm part of the sub.
Okay.
You know, like so
you're in the rotation.
Yeah. So if someone needs a sub, like a class
cool.
covered or something, I can jump
What's your favorite thing to teach? What do you like to teach?
The ecological approach.
Do you? Okay. Tell me about that.
So the way, and I don't know if I'm probably gonna mess this up, but
no, it's okay. Like I understand like what it is. What the thing for me is, what's really hard for me to understand is how you can apply the ecological system into more complex guards in the gi.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me give you a pitch for the ecological approach. With the ecological approach, you're putting somebody in a situation, and then you're telling them what they need to do to win that situation. The reason why that's effective is that with jiu-jitsu, you have people that are 4'6", 75 pounds, all the way up to, 6'8", 350 pounds, right? Somebody that's, 6'8", 350 pounds, their mobility is going to be different. Their body lengths, like the length from their shoulder to their fingertips, is going to be different than somebody who's 4'6".
Yeah.
So their leverage points, their biomechanics are going to differ than that person. So if you're teaching just one, like one drill or something, or one technique, that technique might work for the body type that you're teaching it for, but it doesn't work for all body types.
Right.
And you see this like when you demonstrate a technique and you send it out to the students. Some students get it right away, and then some students are just struggle bus, right?
100%, yeah.
And it's just like their body doesn't recognize that technique yet, right? Yeah. With the ecological approach, you say, okay, you're in this guard. Your goal is to get from full guard to half guard. You know what I'm saying? And so they have to figure out how they're going to use their body, their own body, to create leverage, to maybe break the feet apart, to kind of back up, so they start to learn the movement for their body as opposed to the technique that was shown to them.
Yeah. And how do you change the approach when somebody's like brand new? Like you can't say full guard and closed guard to somebody who doesn't even know what that means and expect them to execute, right? How do you work that? Work through that?
That's a good question. I think, and there's not a good answer for that either. As a brand new student, everything's going to be overwhelming. Like that's one of the things about getting into any complex modality, right? Is you're like, as a beginner, you're going to feel overwhelmed with the amount of information you're given.
Yeah.
Right. So for a brand new white belt to say, go from closed guard to half guard, maybe for them, you modify the position to say, break the guard. Like whatever you can do to separate their legs behind you, that's your goal.
Okay.
So it's I forget the name of it, but it's like you modify.
There's really no difference between like the traditional and ecological. Like you got to dumb it down accordingly, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what I would do is I would say you need to apply as much pressure as possible to their feet to get them to separate.
Yeah. And you could see, exactly. Yeah. So the goal, like your process to the goal is applying as much pressure to the feet as you can.
Yeah.
How you do that is going to be based on your body type. They're going to have to, like a chess player, they're going to have to figure out where can I put my hands, create enough leverage to push my back into the feet, or maybe I reach back and I push one of the legs down. They get caught doing that. And then they're like, okay, I got to watch for that leg coming over for the arm bar, right? So, so it starts to teach them in their own body how to get to the position that's the goal for that particular task-based game.
That's cool, man. Yeah. I don't dabble in. I feel like I use a lot of the ecological games as warm-ups for my no-gi guys. But I'm not going to go in there and change my entire approach unless I know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way in hell that, as a blue belt, I would have been teaching complex guards. I didn't understand them well enough. You know what I mean? Right, totally. And I feel like there's been so much research done by people who are obviously smarter than I am on this ecological approach, and they're able to implement it with a lot more effectiveness than I ever could unless I dedicate the time to it. Holy shit, I don't want to dedicate the time to it.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah. But I won't shit on it. No way. No way.
I think both approaches are incredibly effective. I think, how would I put this? Like, as an instructor, it's obviously up to you to which style you're going to use and incorporate.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're mutually exclusive necessarily,
so
right?
Yeah.
And like you said, I use this for my warm up for my no-gi guys, right? And so it could be that, maybe in certain conditions, you're like, the ecological approach really works in this particular case, but hey, if I'm just showing this particular technique, I'm not going to go send it out to the ecological approach when I kick it back to the students.
And one of the reasons I started using it is like in the gi I was teaching a fundamentals class, and I'm teaching people how to build frames to escape side control, right? And, I'm showing them like, I do this and I do that, and the elbows go here and yada, yada, yada. Well, I mean, I'm walking around and one of the students is like, hey, I just went like this and I got my elbow in. I'm like, keep doing that. Yeah. And that's very much ecological, right? That's basically them solving the puzzle without looking at the picture, right? I mean, So I dig it, man. Anything that, like, the easy thing for somebody who came up like I did and is as old as I am is to be like, that's new shit, not doing it, shit all over it. But honestly, like, if you do that, now you're taking away something that could potentially help your students in a big way, right? So you can't close your mind to it.
Right.
So there is the proof has like been shown pretty recently. They had a kid that beat a couple of big time guys, and he does the eco approach exclusively, I think.
And the reason for that isn't necessarily like it's because he used the ecological approach. It's because his learning style really resonates with that approach.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily, this approach works for everybody.
Right.
Some people are very like very point A to point B oriented. Like you start here, this hand goes there, and they have to think through it that way because that's the way they process information.
Yeah.
But some people are more like tacit information processors. And so the ecological approach really works well for them. It worked well for me. So Jay didn't start teaching the ecological approach until I think I was a black belt. Maybe it was right before I did. But when I rolled, I rolled ecologically. I never had an A game where it was like, okay, I'm in half guard. I always do this from the half guard.
Right.
It was always based on how I feel their body coming into me. And then like, where are my leverage points? Like, where's the best place that I can leverage to move them to get a reaction?
Yeah.
And so like for my learning style, my learning style resonated with the ecological approach without me knowing I was doing the ecological approach.
That's cool.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
So I was always like 100% of the time in open mat, I was never just trying to win. I was just like, hey, I'm in this position. I'm going to try something different.
Yeah.
If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm going to go back to the drawing board. And then like when something would work, I would keep trying it on every single person that I rolled with until like I was like, okay, yeah, this works pretty good.
Yeah.
And then that kind of gets incorporated into my game, with my intuitive game, without me like thinking about it.
Yeah. The only thing I really think about when I'm rolling is it's a very old school type of mentality where I saw this video where Rickson Gracie was talking about the mount.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, if you get to the mount, you've completely dominated all of their defenses.
Hell yeah.
And I learned that at a very early part of my jiu-jitsu life. And I'm like, I'm going to do everything I can to get to mount. And now mount's my thing. It took me like 10 years to like really like hone it, but that's my thing. I love crushing people in mount.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I see, like when I see somebody like get mount and then abandon the mount to attack, I'm like,
what are you doing?
What the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
I'm
you were in the most dominant position.
Yeah.
Why would you give that up?
Yeah. So that's really like, if I have a goal, I tell people all the time, like if we're doing a 6-minute round, I want to get to mount in 15 seconds, and I'm going to hold you down for 5 minutes and 45 seconds. That's what's going to happen.
and you know, it's interesting too, because like if you get to mount, right, and then there's a struggle, right? Like that struggle is where you break their soul.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Once they've stopped struggling because they know they can't get out, well, that's when you can submit them.
100%.
But you can't go straight to submission while they're struggling.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's how you lose the position, because you're like trying to advance it without having complete control.
Yeah. And you can almost feel them break.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. As soon as they stop bucking.
Yeah. Yeah, man. No, that's yeah. I love it, dude. I live and breathe it. It's just a part of who I am. And I quit my job to do it full time, so it better fucking pay off at some point.
Yeah. No, it's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Like I gotta compliment you too, because like circling back to Jiu-Jitsu World League, like I get to visit a lot of gyms, which is a blessing, right? Like it's one of the greatest parts of the job that I do for them is that I get to walk into an academy, I get to meet the professor.
Yeah.
I get a vibe for their gym and like their culture that, you know, and it's a culture that's not just shared by the owner and the students. It's shared by the parents that are in there.
Yeah.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
And it's hard to describe it other than a vibe, you know, it's very like, I don't know, subjective.
Sure.
But it's so cool because I get to go in and walk in and I get to see how they teach their classes. I get to see how they interact with their students. And then I get a feeling and I say, is this a place that I would train? Right?
Yeah.
Or is this a place that I feel like someone would try to break my arm?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because as a black belt, I love training in other people's gyms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been to gyms where I'm like, I am never coming back here.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's not like I said, it's not like I hate the person. It's just I didn't feel the vibe that I like where I felt safe.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And there's a couple of places I've trained where I'm like, I feel safe here. And yours is one of them. Like,
oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, I've been to your open mats and I'm like, yeah, like these are dudes that I know are not going to break my shit. Like
there's no reason to.
Yeah. And, but it's all a derivation of you, right? Like that's your culture that you create at that space, is that it's not okay to go breaking your training partner's legs or arms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you need them.
Absolutely.
Right?
You know, it's funny because, you know, when you're teaching like a fundies class and the white belts are going nuts, I'm like, hey, if you break your training partner, you got nothing left to play with.
Right.
That's it. Like, you know what I mean? No one's going to want to play with you after that. And so I don't know. I try to drive that home a little bit because, you know, I trained, you know, Koa Kalama. So Koa is a black belt. He and I were training partners for years. We don't train together now. He's teaching at a different school, but he's bigger than I am. He's way better than I am. And he's got some leg strength. Like it's impressive. But I tell people, like, Koa and I have been, we've gone, gosh, man, when Koa was like switching jobs and he couldn't really train, we'd go to the gym at 5 a.m. and roll for an hour before the 6 a.m. class, and he had to go. But he never hurt me, not one time.
Yeah,
not one time did he hurt me, and we would roll hard. But it's having that awareness, right? Like yes, he's got my arm, so therefore he can let go. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm smart enough to, like, as soon as my arm gets extended, I'm tapping. Like, you know, I can't remember who said this, but, like, you know, you have an opportunity to escape, you know, at some point, you know, when your arm is, you know, at a 30-degree angle, then 90, maybe. When it's at 180, that is not the time you're going to escape. You know what I mean?
That's not the time to start your hitchhiker.
You are completely screwed. So I don't even wait to get there. I just tap. And it's really like, you know, I don't want to say any level, but I say like a good blue belt and above, I'm tapping almost right away because my shit's going to snap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not worth it.
But. Yeah. And I, you know, it's interesting too, as you obviously age and you've been doing this a long time, people accumulate injuries. Yeah. Like micro injuries, not massive ones where they can't move their arm, but like little ones.
Yeah.
And it's like the more that you continually attack those micro injuries, they become bigger and bigger and bigger.
They never get better.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like you really have to monitor your micro injuries, right? And do everything you can to prevent them from getting worse. One of the things like that's really helped me is, you know, as I've aged and like gotten multiple injuries and stuff, is PRP. So this circles all the way back to, remember Stephen Soar?
Oh yeah.
So this guy that like was in the class with me and my wife, he went on to become a naturopathic doctor, and he teaches out of, or he practices out of Source of Health up in Scottsdale.
Okay.
He came up with regenerative medicine. Like that's how he got trained at his naturopathic college.
Yeah.
And so I would go see him when he was in training there, and he would give me prolotherapy, which is where they take dextrose, which is a sugar. It's an inflammatory, and they inject it at the injury site, and the extra inflammation just kind of like helps attract more of the healing process to that area, right? Yeah. He's since moved on to PRP and stem cells and all the other fun stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I did prolo for a lot, you know, and it helped a lot of micro injuries. And then I got my first PRP dose with him one time. And what they do is they draw out your blood, and they'll centrifuge your blood. They'll spin it down, and it separates the plasma from the red blood cells. But the plasma itself has platelets in it. And platelets are like, I mean, that is your body's healing mechanism, right? Yeah. Anytime you cut yourself and it becomes a scab, that's because of platelets, right? And so platelets release all of these cytokines that basically stimulate the tissue around it to start generating collagen fibers and stuff like that. And so they spin down the blood, they take out the platelets, they concentrate them, and then they inject them right at the site of injury. And so it's basically like giving yourself a wound, an artificial wound, right? In that particular injury. And it creates angiogenesis. So you start growing new blood vessels to the area, and it just kickstarts the whole healing process over again. Yeah. And so I've had like 2 torn meniscus in both knees, of course, you know, when you don't tap the leg locks.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
you know, it happens. Yeah. You don't, you know, a lot of times it's like if you're in butterfly guard and somebody's like passing to the side and it catches your toe the right way, it's like, there goes your meniscus. Yeah. You don't know it until you feel it.
Yeah.
And then it's too late. But yeah, so I went to the VA and they did an MRI, and they're like, dude, you got a freaking meniscus tear. And they're like, and then the doctor's like, let me sign you up for surgery. Nope. And then I go train at Jay's, and there's a guy there with like this huge knee brace on. He's been there for like 6 months with a brace. I'm like, what'd you do? He's like, oh, I got meniscus surgery. I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that. So thank God I saw that, because I went and canceled the surgery, and I went and saw my buddy Stephen Soar, and I was like, hey, can we do PRP? 2 rounds of PRP later, I don't even feel this knee anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the only time I've gotten surgery for my meniscus tears is when I had bucket handle tears.
Oh, yeah, those are rough.
Though I just couldn't extend my leg. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the small tears hurt. Yeah. But I guess you could go get them fixed, but I'm not gonna. You know, I'll PRP them. Yeah. And I do physical therapy twice a week. So I just try to stay on top of it.
Yeah. You know? Have you ever explored the knees over toes stuff?
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
It's all the stuff they tell you not to do.
Yes. when you're growing up, right? Yeah. When I commit to doing the exercises, my knees feel so good. And I'm 52. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I have to get ahead of it. Yeah. Because when I get injured, they just pile up, because a knee will turn into a foot, and it will turn into they just pile up. So, but yeah, the knees over toe stuff is awesome.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I love the deep lunges they do. He has stuff for shoulders as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Like some of the stuff he's introduced me to is like walking backwards on a treadmill that's turned off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're like pushing the ground away, and you're like, I've never worked this set of muscles like in my life.
Yeah, my physical therapist, Greg McClarty over at Control Physical Therapy, he has me doing that, but like just not on a treadmill. Like I go backwards, like when I'm at the academy, back and forth on the mats. It feels so. It's taxing. But my knee feels really good afterwards.
Are you doing it under tension? Like, do you have a sled that you're pulling?
No. I'm just like really digging my toes in and really getting the full range of motion on the foot.
Yeah.
But I mean, he tells me all the time, my biggest issue is range of motion. Like I don't have a lot of flexibility in my toes and my ankles, and therefore everything else suffers, because it starts from the bottom up.
Right.
So we're working on that.
Yeah.
But okay, we're trying to work on that, but half the time we're just managing pain. Like I get a rib injury or something stupid, and we're working on that. But yeah, over time, hopefully it'll get better. But one step at a time, man. I mean, I'm really big on recovery, cold plunge, sauna, stuff like that. And my goal is honestly just to stay on the mat and be effective for as long as I can.
Yeah. I mean, as a gym owner, like you have to make sure you're healthy.
Yeah.
Like that's
like
like there's no option of you just taking a couple months off to heal. Right.
Yeah. And you don't want to be on the mat if you're injured because you're not effective. Right. So you want to stay ahead of those injuries as much as possible. And that's just not, I don't say that just for, people my age, like everybody, like if you're teaching and you're wincing and stuff, your students are like, what the hell is this guy doing? He shouldn't be on the mat right now.
Right.
So you got to stay ahead of those injuries, man.
So what, critical. Can I ask you what you do, how you cold plunge? Like, where do you do it?
So I go to, Unfair Advantage. So my physical therapist and my trainer are in the same building.
Okay.
So I go to this guy, Wadis Cooper at Unfair Advantage. He's my personal trainer twice a week. And then I go to physical therapy twice a week. And they have a sauna cold plunge room that I use. So I'll do. He has me jump on a trampoline for 4 minutes.
Okay.
And he says it's like to kind of get the lymphatic system going.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I'll jump in the sauna for 25, do a 3-minute cold plunge, and then he has a hyper oxygenated tub that I thaw out in for like 15 minutes. And
how do you is the tub heated or is it just like body temperature?
98 degrees.
So it's like body temp.
Body temp. Yeah.
Wow.
It's so good.
So it's hyper oxygenated.
Yeah.
And you're just soaking in it?
You're just soaking in it. Yeah.
What does it do? Like
it's kind of like imagine being in a hyperbaric chamber.
Mm-hmm.
It has a very similar effects.
Okay, so it's like you have a higher concentration of oxygen in the water than you do in your bloodstream. It kind of diffuses through the skin, that kind of thing. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's I call it being tortured to life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, for sure. There's an element of masochism involved in 100%. Like anything that's like physical that you want to get better at.
Yeah.
You kind of have to enjoy the pain.
Yes.
Like in a weird like masochistic way. So I know Joe Rogan talks about this a lot when he's like, yeah, the cold plunge sucks. And he's like, every day is a battle. And I'm like, yes, it is. Like you're. So let me give you an example. So this is really cool. So I have I've had many of these, but I started cold plunging about 4 years ago. And what I did was I bought a chest freezer. And I know, get this. So I know people are like, are you going to electrocute yourself? I'm like,
pull the plug.
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's not plugged in, bro. Okay. So old chest freezer, right? Get it on offer up or something. And then I get, what's that stuff called? You buy it from the like Home Depot, you seal stuff with it.
I know what you're talking about. Flex seal. Yes.
So I flex seal the entire tub. And then I fill it up about, 3/4 of the way with water. And then I have a little, it's like a switch, like a temperature switch, that like it has a thermostat that comes out and like dips in the water. And then anytime the cold plunge gets below or above 40 degrees, it kicks on the freezer until it gets below 40 and then it turns off.
Yeah.
And so, I'll unplug it from there before I get in. But so this chest freezer thing, like for $100, I can cold plunge every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's wild.
Do you keep it in a garage or is it outside?
It's outside in the backyard. Yeah, because I spent $25 on it.
Yeah.
On the freezer.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What's funny though is like when I go on offer up and I'm like looking for one, my first question is, will it fit a body? It's the best question.
Valid question.
Yeah. They're like, what do you? If I get crickets, I know why.
Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah. Do you sauna?
I have a hot tub, and then I don't actually. I guess I don't sauna that much. I'll get in the hot tub, just to kind of like mess my brain, and then I'll jump in the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Or sorry, I'll get in the hot tub and jump in the cold plunge.
Yeah. I don't have a cold plunge here, but over the winter I was jumping in the pool.
Oh yeah.
Same. So I get in the hot. My routine here is get in the hot tub, get in the pool, then go to the sauna, and then start my day.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, doing the hot cold thing. So what I'll do is, so I still do yoga. I have a membership at a place called Radiate down in, I think it's not Awatuki. What's the one in the middle of Phoenix there? Arcadia. Arcadia. Yeah, it's in the Arcadia. So it's a bunch of like wealthy, like Paradise Valley people that all go there, you know?
Yeah.
But their studio, that Radiate studio, is the hottest hot yoga in the state of Arizona.
How hot is it?
Like 110.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and like hot. 90-80% humidity. It is insane. Now some teachers are kind and they'll leave the doors open before class. Some teachers are sadistic and they'll close the doors and preheat the room really well.
Yeah, but there's some psychos in there that nap and shit before class.
Yeah, dude, like I'll walk in and there's people just like already working out. I'm like, you guys are nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to a place, it was off Rio Salado. Oh, can't remember the name of it. It's like, you know where that the Cubs baseball park is? Yeah. That little shopping center where that Famous Dave's is. That same little Like I can't remember what it's called, but they were really nice. And my wife used to go there regularly, and I went a few times. I didn't know that you were like supposed to be quiet. I didn't know, man. I walk in, I was like, smells like feet, you know. And Amy's like, shut up. So but I would park myself like by the door, and so when the quitters would leave, I'd hook the door with my foot just to get that little extra AC. I'm like, oh, that feels so good. Yes. Then I'd let it go before anybody caught me. But yeah, so I remember I have the flexibility of a 2x4. Like I'm not very flexible at all. I remember the lady that was teaching one time. I was like, I really can't do any of this stuff, and she's like, and she kind of guided me into like, you know, she said, well, the number one thing is you want to just stay in the room. Like, okay, I can do that, I think, right? It was difficult, but I did it. And, but she would kind of, just like jiu-jitsu, she would modify the move to fit my body type,
right?
You know, because I'm not going to be able to like grab my foot and extend it and then kiss my knee. And you know what I mean? I'm not going to be able to do that, but she would have me do like a portion of it. You know what I mean? And again, the object was to stay in the room.
Right.
And over time, I got a little bit better at some of the positions, but I couldn't do all of them. You know, I don't know. I think if I would have stuck with it, maybe I would be able to do them by now, but I just didn't.
Yeah, that's understandable.
It's a big commitment, dude.
Oh yeah. No, I get it. Like you have to be an extra level masochist to like hot yoga.
Yeah, dude.
You know?
Yeah. So I was doing it, you know, we had a membership, so I was doing it like I'd go there at lunchtime and stuff, do it a few times a week. That was really cool. I mean, you get to meet some very different people. I got to tell you a funny story.
Okay, yeah.
So the first time I go in there, I got like PT shorts on, t-shirt, cotton t-shirt, by the way. I have a t-shirt on, and I see this guy, he's got these little booty shorts on, and I'm like, no shirt. I'm like, dude, put a and I'm thinking, dude, put a shirt on. And then we went like inverted, and my freaking sweat-soaked shirt went into my face, and I'm suffocating, and I don't want to move because I'm being polite. You know what I mean? The next day I had booty shorts on, no shirt.
Yeah. You're like, I get it now.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
That made total sense after that.
Yeah, your first downward dog where you get a sweaty t-shirt in the face, you're like, okay, this is bad.
It was waterboarding. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe, dude. It was wild.
You're getting choked out by your own sweat. You're just like, this is not cool.
Yeah, man. So tell me about how you got involved with Jiu-Jitsu World League.
Yeah, so, you know, Einstein said that competence is its own worst punishment, right? So it was back when I was competing a lot, like purple belt, I think, and I had heard that if you go like help them at the tournament, you could get a free registration.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So that's how I got involved. Is I just like, I'll do whatever. Just can I compete for free? And so they did, you know, and that's how I got started. And then each time they would come around, they'd hit me up like personally. Hey, are you gonna come help? And I'm like, yeah, cool. I can help.
Yeah.
And then like it gradually got more and more involved. But yeah, like. It just slowly worked its way up to promotions. You know what I mean?
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. Like, I can't complain at all. Like, the owner is very thoughtful. The whole team is like
who is the owner?
His name is Matthew. Oh, what's his last name? It starts with a T. I can't remember.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, like he's based out of California, but his philosophy is great. Like he's actually very much into yoga himself. Like we've had long talks about, like Paramahansa Yogananda, who wrote the, autobiography of a yogi. It's like a popular book, but like we talked about him, and you know, he has this philosophy of like, I just want to give. Like that's his thing. Like I want to give. Like it's not a scarcity mindset. It's like an abundance mindset. Right.
Yeah.
And so he's very giving. Like he just wants to give the best events. He wants to hear the feedback and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was really easy to align myself with that philosophy. Right.
Yeah. Of course.
And so, and because of that, like they've kind of like let me off the chain, you know, to just go promote how I see fit, you know. And like I said, I traveled to different academies and like I'll go train with them and stuff. And like I've met some amazing people like in the community where I'm like, yes, like this is why jiu-jitsu resonates with so many people.
Yeah.
Is you walk into a place and you're like, oh, it's a family here.
Yeah.
And you're a guest of the family.
Yeah.
And how do guests get treated at like a nice family gathering?
You
like
first,
royalty, right?
Yeah, you eat
like,
first.
Oh, come on,
Yeah.
Like, oh, do you have anything to add? Do you want to, and it's like, no, it's your class.
Yeah, that's so cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine, like, I don't get the opportunity that you do to go to other schools, but I've been all over the country, and I always drop in somewhere. And it's funny because Amy and I, the first thing we pack is a gi.
Right.
Whenever we travel.
And does anything else fit, right?
Yeah. And it's, I mean, I don't want to say I'm batting 1,000 because there have been some bathrooms that are a little suspect.
Right.
But for the most part, man, there isn't a single place that I've gone where I didn't feel welcome.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
the only bad vibes I get that I've ever gotten are ones where like I just like I don't like the way the class was taught, maybe. I don't know. Or like one of their students is just like out to murder a black belt. And I'm like, okay, like this is like did you put him up to this? Like, is this to like test me? But yeah, no, like I totally 100% agree. Like 99.9% of the academies out there are like high quality, like good people, like family.
Yeah. I went and trained at this place in Idaho. And it's in, middle of nowhere, Idaho. I think the population is like, they might be at 100,000, and they hate it. Everybody's like, oh, it's getting too big.
Yeah.
So
we got a Walmart now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Sucks.
Fucking Kohl's. So I go to, I can't remember the name of it. It started with a V, like something. It'll come to me. But I go to this place and I hit them up. I always let them know, like, hey, what's your drop in? If you have a gi color preference, stuff like that. And they were like, oh, no drop in, just come on by. It's cool. So I go in and I said, yeah, I trained with Aries out of Arizona, and they're like, oh my gosh, like we know Kishino and because Kishino had done like a PANS camp with their affiliate in Utah. So they had gone to Utah to train for that Pan Am's camp. So they met him there. So when I came in, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah. And it was really cool. It was really, I mean, nothing that I did, but I felt very welcomed.
Right.
Because of that community. It's a small world, man.
Totally. Yeah. And it's funny you brought up Kishino because anytime that somebody says like, oh, an omoplata is just a basic move that doesn't work at higher levels, I'm like, go watch Kishino. Bro. Dude, you want to see an omoplata master? Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I've just seen him murder people with it. Like,
dude.
Of the highest level, I'm like, okay, yeah, the omoplata, it's legit.
Yeah, absolutely. He and Clark Gracie, they're like, they'll nail it. But yeah, I've been caught in a lot of those omoplatas, unfortunately. But he's such a great guy. And he loves your tournament, by the way.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he does. He loves your tournament.
That's good. I'm going to visit him now.
Yeah, go by and see him.
I'll be like, Alex said you want to join forces with us.
Right? Yeah, that would be something. So where is Jiu-Jitsu World League going from this point? Because when I first started competing with Jiu-Jitsu World League, it was mainly like Arizona, California. Has that expanded? Is it gone like, are you guys in Utah, Texas, anything like that?
We're not in Utah, but we're in Texas, Florida, and then up in the Northeast. So they have like New Jersey. I
didn't know
New
that.
York. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So they have like a east side thing, and then they have like a west side thing. So they have like a set of mats that they drag around the east side, and they have a set of mats they drag around the west side.
Is it just two teams on each coast?
Do you mean like two different groups that work those? They actually have like, what's really interesting about World League is that they have they work with like a skeleton crew. Mm-hmm. Like you have guys that like work California, fly out to Florida the next day, like work that tournament. Their highest like level people are all over the place. Like they run everything. They know everything. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, so they do, one thing they do really well is efficiency with a small crew.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like in the way they do it. And like I said, they're always looking to improve, but you asked me where they were going like from here, right?
Yeah.
So we had been doing 2 tournaments a year in Arizona, right? And then they got me on the promotion team, I think like it was somewhere around like a year ago, right? For that March event. We had like 1,300, 1,400 competitors. And then they were like, hey, like really promote the shit out of this September event. And so like I went hard. And we sold out the September event.
Wow.
Now, to get there, I had to give out a lot of free promotions. And so when we were going over the books after that tournament, they were like, holy shit, you did 191 free registrations. I'm like, but we sold out.
We sold out. That's right.
So I backed it off a little bit for this one, and then we sold out the one in March, which was awesome. And then like back in September, I want to say like July area, right before September, Matt had called me up and he was like, hey, he's like, do you think we could do 3 tournaments in Arizona? Like, this is like how he thinks. He's like, do you think we could do 3? I'm like, yeah, we could do 3. He's like, good, we're gonna do 4.
Wow.
So he's like, because he's like, obviously there's a demand there, and
100%.
if we're giving like good quality like events to people, it's like, why not give them what they want?
Yeah.
So if we sold out 2 events in a year, like, okay, we should probably do 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So we're doing one in March. We have one in June, like June 21st. And that was a total, like, I know that like Gustavo had his tournament that same day.
Yeah.
But what happened was we're tied to Mullet's schedule. Mullet's like a huge entertainment venue.
Yeah.
And so they have like big name musical artists that come through. I think Bernie Sanders and AOC were there. You know,
oh, really?
I don't know.
Oh, that was pretty recent, I think.
I think so. Yeah. They might have been there. I mean, it was like they definitely book out. And so we are strapped by their booking schedule.
Yeah.
So when we tell them, hey, we want to do an event in June and we'd like it on a Saturday, they go through their calendar because we have to book out a Friday and a Saturday. We have to set up, right?
Yes.
And then do the tournament.
Yeah.
And so they're losing revenue for the Friday events, right? Because they're not able to book event like a entertainment.
It would be impossible to do overnight. I mean, set it all up overnight.
Oh no, yeah. People would lose their minds.
They'd kill you. They would kill you.
Yeah, it's hard to get it set up in one day. I can tell you that because I help them set up every time, and it's just like, even though we're in the same location every time, it's just like there's always something that pops up, and you know. So, anyways, so we're gonna do the June one, but it was a total accident because we just said, hey, Mullet, we want a Saturday in June. They said the only one we have is the 21st, and we're like, okay, we're gonna take it. Mm-hmm. Gustavo, I don't think had released his 2025 schedule yet. We knew he was gonna do, like, obviously we know Arizona State's in June.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. But we did not intend for it to be on the same day as his event. And so when we had that planned and booked before he released the 25 schedule, he had already had it booked before that too. So we booked it. Yeah. And then it's like, and it looks really, it looks sus when it's like on the same day. And it's like, no, that wasn't our intention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It was just, that's the only day that Mullet had to
I
offer.
Seriously doubt that Matt, it's his name, right? Matt.
Yeah.
I seriously doubt he sits there and watches schedule and be like, oh, we're going to do it the same day.
No.
You know what I mean? I seriously doubt he does that.
Yeah, because it hurts both events.
Yeah, it's
right?
an accident.
Yeah.
Well, not an accident, but it couldn't be helped. But then you got to remember that IBJJF comes into town right around end of June, I think. But they never announce it until like maybe May.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah,
it drives me crazy because I use that one to kind of prep for Master World because it's like boom, boom, boom.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, now that we've got so many tournaments like in state, like I don't need it. You know what I mean?
Right,
like it's not going to make or break me because I like to do. My schedule was like I do Phoenix Open and then I'll go do Nationals and then I get ready for Master Worlds. That's kind of the schedule.
Right.
And but I mean we've got you guys coming like right before Master Worlds. It's also we got Gustavo. We got there's just so many tournaments now.
Yeah.
You know here's what drives me crazy about students today. When I was coming up, if there was a 2-stripe blue belt in the room, or heaven forbid there's a purple belt in the room, you're like, holy shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, fuck yeah, this is going to be awesome, right?
Yeah.
And, I got students that like skip classes and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, you got brown belts and purple belts and black belts to train with. Like, you're spoiled. And by the way, we had 4 tournaments when I was coming up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now there's like, I don't know, how many are there now? There's got to be like 9 tournaments. AGF stopped coming, so I don't know if they're going to ever come back. But
I don't know. I think they saw the competition with World League and they just were like, we're not.
Yeah.
Naga comes through.
Comes through. Grappling Industries, Grappling X, all those guys. There's two things why we support your tournaments. Number one, if you're going to charge my parents and my kids' parents, to a spectator fee, they better have a great view.
Yeah. 100%,
right. Yeah. So and like you said, the mats being at the same level as the parents, it makes it very difficult for me to justify. We just charge these guys $25 to get in here and they can't see. That's not okay. So the Mullet is a great arena for that. And the second thing, it's got to be convenient, man. It's got to be. what better spot, and plenty of parking,
right?
You know what I mean? And there's other stuff around there. If you want to get out for a little while and go grab some food, you can.
Yeah.
Unless you're coaching and you're stuck there for 12 hours. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah. Hey, but at least we have a coach's corner with snacks and stuff.
Let me tell you something about that coach's corner. I drink orange juice twice a year. Both of them are at World League.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this. Me and my coaches were talking about this. We're like, you kind of look down your nose at the little hot dog bun with the peanut butter and jelly until you've been there 9 hours.
Yeah.
Then like, holy shit, that is so good.
Yes.
I eat the crap out of that stuff. And you guys have coffee and you have a little lounge area for the coaches. You guys do it right, man. I dig it. I really dig what you guys are doing.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That's all we want to do is, giving the students the extra matches, like that's huge. Like, can you imagine spending $100 on a tournament? You get one match and then you're like, okay, acai bowl.
Yeah. You're done. Yeah.
It's like you got like at least two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you paid $100, and think about the spectators again, right? It's like, oh, we just watched him, and maybe, especially like at a white belt, or blue belt, it's like, the spectrum of talent is so wide when you get there. Huge. It's like, a brand new white belt, maybe it's their first tournament, and then you got this like 4-stripe white belt that's like
gonna work
D1 wrestler, right? And you just paid $100 and you walk in there and he taps him in like 30 seconds and you're like, okay, time to go home. And it's like, oh, we drove all the way out here for this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So so here's a good example. My son, he's 8. He was, he's still a white belt, but he was, he did gi and no gi. He had 6 guys in his bracket, right? And he had 4 matches to get third. Yeah.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, he won the first one, lost the second one, and then had to win 2 to win third.
Oh, my gosh.
So, that's like amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I know like he wanted first, but
of course, yeah.
But it's like, dude, he had 4 matches at no gi,
Yeah.
It was like, that was nice.
So I've actually won a couple of matches at World League because I knew the rule set.
Mm-hmm.
So it used to be if your butt bounced off the mat on a takedown, you got 2 points, or if the other person. So dude wasn't watching the scoreboard and he thought, well, I stood right back up. So I got 2 and I won that match.
And the last person to score wins.
Yeah. So that's happened to me twice. So the second time I was, I got taken down. So he scored 2. I swept him. I scored 2. We scrambled to their feet. I pulled guard and I got him in my closed guard. And he thought that because he opened my closed guard and got semi past my knees, that he got an advantage. No advantages.
No advantage, yeah.
So we came up and I knew the rule set. So he camped out in my closed guard because he thought he had an advantage.
Right.
So I'm like,
sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And so we stood up and my hand gets raised. He's like, what the hell? I was like, there's no advantages. He goes, but it's 2-2. And I was like, I scored last.
Yes.
So I tell people, you got to know the rule set.
Yes.
You have to study the rule set.
Yeah. And there's reasons why we do it that way too, because it's like, who wants to lose by an advantage?
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and also nobody wants to watch 2 dudes sit in each other's guard where one has the advantage and they're trying to stall.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you just swept somebody, and you're on top, right? And you won, and then now it's tied 2-2 or something.
Yeah.
Like the bottom guy's going to fight like a mother.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
If they know the rule set, they got to fight. And so it makes it more exciting too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can kind of play the clock too. Like you see a weakness and like, okay, I can exploit that weakness. Maybe I'll get the sweep, but I'm going to wait.
Yeah, yeah, right. And
then you hit it and you're like, oh, I got it, so that's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, man. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. So let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Brad Jacobson. That's my handle on Instagram.
Right on, man.
Yeah, I'm a story and sound on X, but I post controversial material. So if you ever want to have me back to do conspiracy podcasts, oh, buddy.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll get Tojo in the room and we'll definitely do it.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me, before we wrap up, let me just say, my wife sent me this meme the other day where it said it was two pictures, one on top of the other. And the top picture was some kid like asleep at his desk, and it said men in high school in a history class. Yeah. And then the bottom picture is, Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yes, of course.
Where he's like pointing at all the things. And it said men in their 40s with history. And I'm like, dude, that is it.
That is 100% accurate.
So we just pull that thread and we're like, oh wait, there's more threads. And it's just, I would love to come back and like, we can definitely like do the conspiracy thing. Cause I'm a yeah, I'm an open book with that stuff. And
well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we schedule it after the next World League?
That would be awesome.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. We'll kind of wrap up the World League and then we'll go into conspiracies.
Yes, I love it. Okay.
Hey man, thank you so much for doing this. It was educational. I had no idea. I knew you were a Ranger. I had no idea you were a part of history, man. I mean, part of the war and everything that happened. Thank you for everything that you've done, and thank you for putting on just spreading the jiu-jitsu to the masses, man. Thank you so much.
No, thanks for having me, man.
All right, everybody, if you love the podcast or if you hate the podcast, please like and subscribe. Please follow us on Instagram, on Spotify, on Facebook, YouTube, you name it. We are the BJJ Foxcast. And make sure you're buying Salt. And thank you, Salt, for your sponsorship. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Peace.
This episode is brought to you by BioPro Plus. BioPro Plus is the faster, easier, and safer non-synthetic alternative to painful, expensive, and invasive anti-aging hormone treatments. The growth factors in BioPro Plus have the unique ability to regulate and restart the body's natural sex hormone production, and it also assists in raising glutathione levels, improving immune response, repairing DNA, promoting enhanced protein absorption, and supporting self-differentiation and proliferation. I don't know what any of that means, but I can tell you this. I've been using this stuff for about a year, and my ability to recover is through the roof. I'm training jiu-jitsu 3 times a week. I'm lifting weights 2 times a week, and the amount of time it takes for me to recover has reduced significantly. I'm 51 years old, and as an aging grappler, I got to do everything I can to stay on the mats. So I go through a pretty regimented recovery system, and BioPro. I also use the evening version. I forget what it's called, but it's fantastic. Get this stuff. Go to www.bioproteintech.com and put the promo code Foxcast. Promo code Foxcast will get you $30 off your order. Hit them up. You won't regret it.